Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again, bringing you the very start of my Bulletstorm very hard video walkthrough. And here we are. Bulletstorm, my goodness. This game is officially, well, I say officially, it will be 24 hours old in a few minutes in my country, and I've already beaten it twice, so imagine that. And it's a fantastic game, it really is. It's a really cool and interesting game. It's got its flaws, but for the whole, it's a pretty damn good adventure with some crazy shooting, some crazy effects, some ridiculous cutscenes, some ridiculous bosses, and just a general high level of production values all around. Be warned though, this is a very cursey game, and if you're not into ridiculous cursing, it probably might rub you the wrong way every so often. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I curse like a sailor. I think swearing's pretty damn funny in the right context and when used correctly. This game kinda stretched me every so often, so you kinda just gotta roll with its tongue-in-cheek attitude towards everything and listen to a few rampages of, "Oh fuck you dick ticks, suck my, ass douche, you rampant cock mite," because they really go off on them and say stuff you wouldn't even hear. But it's still pretty funny sometimes, other times it kinda sucks, but anyhow. The main gist of the game. This game is a little different to your standard first-person shooter, as you have to accumulate points by killing enemies in unique and creative ways. And what that does is it enables you to buy upgrades, it enables you to buy ammunition, and it enables you to functionally play the game. And it's kind of a risk and reward system that they've got built up, whereas if you go out your way to do the really creative stuff, you will be rewarded. And the first thing I'll say about this walkthrough is this is not a skill walkthrough. This is not me showing you how to do the most impressive, most ridiculous, most high scoring maneuver abilities that are available. It just isn't that. This is how to beat this game on any difficulty, the easiest and most efficient way that I've discovered with my time with the game. So don't expect me to be doing flawless shit and getting fucking millions and millions of points off everything and just doing it really stylishly, because that's not what this guide's about. This guide is designed to help people, and therefore it'll just be me doing it however I can. But this start section here is pretty much an introduction. It is the prologue, and they're just showing you the mechanics. Hence why you've already got to shoot your gun, you've already got to use the boot, and now you're doing climbing, you're doing crouching, and they're just introducing things nice and slow to you as you walk through the Spectre, which is this spaceship that you've commandeered. And there's a pretty interesting story in this game. The only problem with it is it kind of loses its steam around the middle section of the game. And it just leaves me wondering that if maybe they'd had a bit more going on, various subtext, different levels to the storyline, it might have helped the overall game, because the first time you play through this adventure, it is a pretty long game. It is, I say long, it's maybe about 5 to 7 hours depending on how good you are and how fast you push through the game, but it still feels like a decent length. My second playthrough when I recorded this guide, it felt tiny. I did it in not many hours at all, so yeah, it's interesting. But the first time through it really did feel like a fully embodied game. So this is the first opportunity you get to run. And a couple of things I will mention as well. The sensitivity on the aim when you first turn the game on is really stiff, so I would definitely advise your guys to knock it up a little bit so that you can keep up with what's happening on screen. Another thing that this game uses, which actually started to piss me off, was it has an aim lock. Much like on Call of Duty's, where you go into ADS, the aim down sight mode, and it locks onto enemies, and you can keep doing that to pin your targets. And this is a game where some scenarios you actually want to wait for the enemies to come to you so you can blow up a barrel, or you can set them up with a specially triggered shot. And when you're pinning to enemies, you literally can't get off the enemy because it locks you in with the aim assist. And it fucked me off so much doing what I was trying to do that I've actually turned it off, and I would actually advise your guys to turn it off unless you're going to be playing this like a conventional shooter. If you're just going to be taking enemies down and being as lethal as you possibly can, then keep it on, because it's going to help you a lot. And this section right now, I think you can die because your life is in the bottom left, but you're supposed to die, so I think it's just one of those suicide, introductions where they try and make everything look really spectacular. and for the most it is kind of interesting because there are no other sections of the game like this. It is pretty crazy, and you have to focus on those cannons if you can, but as you can see, it doesn't end well. And as I've mentioned, this is on very hard difficulty, and the differences in the difficulties is what I know anyway, I should say, is you take more damage, the enemies, you know, the enemies give more damage, the enemies take more damage, and also everything in the shops that you buy and you upgrade is more expensive, thus you need to do better skill shots or you need to wait longer in between upgrades. All in all, this difficulty is not very challenging at all. There's maybe 2 or 3 sections, motherfucker, they're off already. Maybe 2 or 3 sections that are actually challenging, and everything else, if you play it intelligently and you just play smart, you shouldn't have any problems with. So if you're worrying about this game, don't worry whatsoever. It's not too bad, and the most important thing is it's very fun and it's very satisfying. And if you can put up with a couple of, you know, dick tits and fuckballs and all that kind of stuff that they say, you're probably going to be in for a really, really good game. And I'm going to be skipping the cutscenes for the most, so I warn you first before that, if you're watching these videos to understand the story and to watch the madness that ensues, you're probably not going to get it. This is a video walkthrough, so you'll have to check elsewhere for that stuff. But right now we're going into another tutorial level, and look at these beautiful graphics, man. This game does some of the best draw distances I've seen in a while when it comes to highly detailed backdrops and vistas. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you stare at them long enough you can tell that half of it isn't modelled, a lot of it is just matte and just, you know, stuff like that, but it still looks damn spectacular. And if this isn't a cool idea, I don't know what is. We are walking down the side of a building with gravity boots on in the middle of a massive cityscape. It almost makes me wish that this level was longer just because of how badass the whole thing is. And right now, I can't move until my team get in front of me. So be careful of that stuff. So on to the problems with this game. Talked about a couple of good things. I might as well use this first episode where it's all the tutorial stuff to tell you about the things I didn't like. Well, as I've mentioned before, the cursing is pretty frenetic, it's pretty tasteless at times, and I don't mean that from like an offensive point of view, I just mean it as in, it kinda gets groan worthy at some of the bullshit that they say. It is funny for the most, but it can grind on you a little bit. There's a lot of cutscenes, and there's a lot of interactive cutscenes, and I'm not against interactive cutscenes, you know, Metal Gear Solid style, where half the fucking game is a cutscene, but I right wanted to get into this game because it's very arcadey, and at these moments right now where you've had to move around and you haven't really done much, it makes you want to play. And unfortunately it takes the game out of your hands quite a lot, and it's not really much of a detriment, it's just me personally, I would have liked to have been playing. And right now I think this is a timed fight, so you can actually sit behind the desk and wait it out if you don't want to risk dying, but I'm going to try shooting a few dudes because it's just what you're supposed to do, really. Another thing that bugs me as well is the game is a little buggy. I've got 2 examples on these first 2 chapters when I was doing my recording run where the game actually breaks. I reload my checkpoint and it will not physically carry on because one of the characters has either gone into floating mid-air and won't trigger the next cutscene or the next area, or I myself get stuck in mid-air and I can't move, and when I reload I'm still in mid-air. And the first thing I'll say is, I didn't have any problems the first time I played through the game. It's nothing to do with my Xbox or anything like that. I have no issues on any other games aside from the crashes that we all experience because we're gamers and we hammer our consoles. But second time through, it bugged out a lot on me. Just silly things where like the audio it'd stop, or where I'd push a checkpoint and then end up getting stuck, or cutscenes wouldn't spawn, and little things like that. And it happened a handful of times. It's not enough for me to say don't buy the game or that it needs a patch. It doesn't. It's just sometimes games will fuck up on you. It's just what they do. And I did notice it on my recording run and it kind of pissed me off. Another thing that I'm not a big fan of is the fact that they didn't have the 4-player co-op, and it was kind of promoted somewhere at the start of the development of Bulletstorm, and somewhere along the lines I didn't see that they'd taken it out. So me and a bunch of friends were so looking forward to getting on this and ploughing through on very hard as a 4-man team, and the game doesn't even support it, which is fucking cheap. And it makes me laugh because there's Cliff Bleszinski coming up with another creative metaphor as to why there isn't a bloody multiplayer in a game that Epic have helped, you know, distribute. He seems to do that more than he does put multiplayers in things. And then the final thing that bugs me about the game is some of the checkpoints are very broken. You will come across times where you'll do a pretty difficult section, and then afterwards there might be an opportunity to die really cheesily from bullshit reasons, and then they'll put you before the really hard section as opposed to, you know, the cutscene in between, and that's a little frustrating. But you know, no games are perfect. Everything else on this game is really great, so that's refreshing at least. But yeah, just, you know, do a couple of complimentary crotch shots there. And then you just have to take him to the infirmary, which is in this room over here. And then the good old doctor's going to strap him down and see what he can do. And you'll notice right now we're not earning points for anything we do. We don't even have a heads-up display. And the reason for that is because we don't have the item that gives us those functionalities, basically. But we'll be getting that very shortly, because this is just an introduction, and I'm going to pop that dude in the balls a little bit.
Fusion cell to power the biowell.
Been out of them for months, Doc.
But yeah, there is some pretty witty interaction between the team. It's just a shame they're so obsessed with saying curse words you wouldn't even dream of making up.
Yes, sirree.
People saying they're going to kill you in your dick. It's just, oh. I mean, don't get me wrong, I chuckled the first time, but it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, I know. What else is new?
So one thing too, that if you double tap A, you'll go into the crouch, dash, roadie run thing, and it is faster than running, so it's definitely useful at times, but the only problem is it seems to lock on to stuff, and if you hit something, it will stop you dead. So be very careful with it, because a lot of the time when you get into a rough spell and you're trying to escape, if you do the double tap A, you'll generally just go into something, hit something and clip, and it will take you out of it and you'll still be vulnerable. So I would definitely either get good at doing the ground dash or just use the run, because the run is a lot more controllable. And with these first guys here, the best thing to do is to just back up and kick them, because there's so many things that will kill them in this room. You can just kick them and save your ammo. Not that ammo is a problem, but it's a good habit to get into, because for how this game prioritizes on, you know, being skillful and killing tons of dudes, the ammo is very limited. So limited that you're going to see me buying a lot of ammo, and my first run through of the game on very hard, I didn't actually buy any ammo, because in my opinion, if you're playing a game correctly, you shouldn't have to buy ammo. But it turns out this game is designed for you to keep stocking up on your ammo. It's an interesting approach, and in all honesty, I didn't like it at first, but it's something you have to get used to, because it's not going to change. It's how the game is. And after you see the Ulysses crash, watch it on this corner, because when you push forward, a couple guys will spawn, and some of them have guns, and the gun guys are very accurate, and they can kill you in about 7 shots, and they fire pretty quick. So the best thing to do on this plate is just back up down this little corridor here, use the cave sides, the little rocks as cover, and keep popping out and spraying dudes with your carbine. And if you can get close, obviously, if you do the kick into the air or the dash into them, you can do the bullet kick, which is where they're in slow motion and you pop their head. And it's not difficult to do, because they seem a little bit more susceptible to headshots when you knock them in the air. So I kick him, and there you go, pop his head, nice and simple. And this is the... oh, skip a few cutscenes, and this is where we get the leash from. So from every video on from now, we're going to have the ability to leash dudes towards us and do all that cool stuff. But I've got the entire guide completely recorded here, guys. I've just got to drop the commentaries on and upload them as quickly as I can, so stay tuned to my YouTube channel. I should have it up pretty quickly, and I hope you enjoy it, because this game is awesome, and this guide should prove to be pretty useful, I'm hoping. So once again, as always, thank you for taking the time to check my videos out, to check my channel out. Support me as much as you can. I love you all, and you take care now.
Real happy for you. Now, can you make yourself useful? Pop open the hood on this pod.